Thanks, Jesse. Talk of climate change usually dovetails with talk of limiting our use of fossil fuels. But the cold fact is our use of gas and oil may not bend fast enough. So what else can be done?
That's where Geo-Engineering artificially change the environment to slow or reverse global warming. It is not without question nor controversy. And here to talk about this science is RIT's Josh Goldowitz. Josh, thanks so much for joining us. And your title, I'm going to let you say it because I know that I would mess it up.
I'm the undergrad coordinator of RIT's Environmental Sustainability Health and Safety Program. It's an undergrad program at RIT.
All right, that's great. Why don't we talk about this geoengineering? Why don't you explain to people what it is so we get a better sense of it?
Sure. Global warming is occurring because we burn so much fossil fuels. We put carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, causes global warming. And geoengineering is a couple of different techniques that could possibly lower the temperature of the atmosphere so that global warming is not as severe.
And what are a couple? Why don't you give us a couple examples of this? Because I've read into it a little bit, and they're pretty cool. They almost seem science fiction.
They do seem science fiction. They've never been tried. So one example is too more bright. And if you can make clouds a little brighter by putting salt crystals into them, then when the sun's rays come in, they'll be reflected back out into space instead of warming the planet. So that's one possibility. You do have boats roaming around the ocean spraying salt into the air. Another possibility is to put sulfur dioxide droplets up into the stratosphere, the upper atmosphere, kind of near where jets fly, and that would reflect some of the sunlight. Just like when a volcano puts sulfur and dust into the atmosphere.
Particles in the air.
Yeah, it cools the earth.
Okay. Yeah, and in fact, I remember this, the summer of 1992, there was like no summer.
That's right.
Because there had been an earthquake.
That's right.
Or, I mean, a volcanic eruption.
That's right.
In the Philippines?
In the Philippines,
yeah.
Mount Pinatubo.
Yeah.
And it cooled the earth enough that
I remember
we
that
noticed
summer.
Who figured out that volcanoes cool the earth was Ben Franklin in 1783.
How about that?
Big volcano went off. The whole world was cold. They ran out of firewood everywhere.
Interesting.
And so that's kind of the idea of geoengineering, kind of mimic that.
Let's talk about the practical application of this. As you can imagine, I'm certain that there are companies, entire industries that would want to have control over the weather, that would like to bend the weather to their will.
Absolutely.
Is that people who are studying this today, what practical application?
It's quite controversial because you could have one country wanting to change the climate and doing geoengineering and doing it without going to the UN or whatever. But I suppose you could manipulate area to get more crops or something like that. So I suppose
Anywhere, I'm just curious.
They've done tiny little tests, but a problem with it is, you can't really test. It's a big system. You can't test it until you do it. So, who knows if it would even work.
And then the question becomes side effects. Something on that big of a scale, changing the Earth's environment, you can only imagine, perhaps, some of the problems that may come along
Right.
with this.
They can try to model what will happen, but there are going to be side effects. So, but you have to consider, we're already putting 30 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every year. So it's kind of like we're already doing this huge experiment just by burning fossil fuel. So we see the side effects. So yeah, it's controversial, but we may be forced to do something like this if we can't stop burning so much coal, oil, natural gas.
Unbelievable. And this is not being talked about by scientists in small universities. Big topic right
This
now.
is a big topic, and it's interesting because you have environmental people who are very much interested and concerned about the environment on both sides of this issue. Some saying we're causing global warming, we really have to do something about it. And others saying, gee, you're thinking about all these experiments, they're going to kind of play with Mother Nature. But both sides are trying to kind of see what's the best we can do for the world.
The question is, even if we did do this type of geoengineering, could it really reverse and reverse the damage? How much could it really reverse the damage?
Right.
We'll never get back to where we were.
Well, carbon dioxide levels are getting close to double what they used to be. The only way to really stop that would be for us to convert completely to and wind.
This is such a many-layered issue with a lot of controversy, like you said.
Yeah,
and
but
we could talk about this for days. So thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me on.
All right, good
Fascinating topic, yeah.
Coming up, our Crime Stoppers Josh, thanks.
Thank you.